Okay, so Apple made a clear volume profile breakdown, had a little retest of the bottom of the volume profile, continuing lower here. I see that we have a little bit of a rally happening today, so obviously Apple is going to go along with it. This one still seems fragile to me with the 200-day moving average kind of going sideways. We have the 50-day moving average moving lower. That's going to create a lot of resistance and momentum downside for Apple. So we have an up day, but still not convinced that this is going to be the low for Apple. What are you seeing with your indicators?
Well, you got to look at Apple first because obviously this is the one that's going to move around the NASDAQ 100, the QQQs, yada, yada, yada. Apple trying to find that strength. You're going to find a bounce off this 128. You mentioned that already. 128, 130 becomes that strength. But as you indicated, look at that 50 and that 20-day moving average. Both of those in bearish patterns here. That means with the 50-day, you got a 2 to 3 chance the stock's going to close lower the next day. That's just a
Mhm.
rule from looking back at the history of the stock. So watch this level, the 130, 130 or so, and a pop up to 135 is going to start to see a little bit of pressure. You're not up to the 20-day yet, but that's where we started to see people start to trade it to the downside more. So that volume's going to flip, give resistance here. Ultimately, I think I see a 125, maybe even a 120 out of Apple. And you're starting to hear a little bit of chatter about 100, some open interest configuration starting to build up at the 100 strike on Apple as well. If you're a doomsdayer and you're looking for a real crash here in Apple, 100 is where you mark it up. For right now, I think you got the chipping wedge out and you're playing it down to 125 to 120 on Apple
Mhm.
before July expiration.
Chris, you just mentioned something about the moving averages predicting a downside move. Can you repeat that one more time?
Yeah, you know what? Let's expand on it real quick. I'll just take 30 seconds here.
Okay.
20 years ago, I did my first study on it, and I update it about every 2 years or so. And this applies to any stock that's in the S&P 500. That's what I test, but you can expand it out. If the 50-day moving average is trending lower, you know that old saying, "The trend is your friend." I went out and tried to quantify it. If the 50-day moving average is trending lower, then there's a 2 to 3 chance the stock that you're looking at is going to close lower the next day. As we like to say, it's just math. I've back tested it over and over and over. And any stock that you find that just has that one simple thing, the 50-day trending lower, it's a 2 to 3 chance that it's going to close lower the next day. When it's trending higher, it reverses. There's a 2 to 3 chance that it's going to trade higher. If you have nothing else to look at the trend in the 50-day moving average if you're a long-term investor. Period. End of sentence. End of story.
Guys, that is a hot tip out of our quant, Chris Johnson. And Chris, every time you're on, I always make sure I'm like, oh crap, my 20-day moving average isn't on my chart. It didn't save it. So make sure you have your moving averages on your charts, everyone. And that's a
Yeah.
really hot tip that we just got out of Chris Johnson, a pro tip that he trades with his night traders and Penny Nation. So mark that in the books, everyone. And we are looking for some more downside in Apple. Might not be today or in the morning, but with that, we're still looking to the downside.